Hey guys, what's going on? This is going to be a complete review of the Jackery Explorer 1000 V2 portable power station. In this video, I will show you all its features, test it to its limits, and go over all its pros and cons. So, let's get right into the video. Starting with the unboxing, everything is well protected inside the box. The first thing you'll find is the power cord. It is a thick 14 gauge cable designed to handle fast charging for this power station. Next, there is the instruction manual, which provides all the specifications and details you need. And finally, you'll uncover the Jackery power station itself. This portable power station features a sleek and highly portable design, especially considering all the features it offers. It comes with a foldable handle which makes it easy to carry and when folded down, gives you more storage space. The previous version had a solid handle, which meant you couldn't place anything on top of it, limiting your storage options. As for the weight, it comes in at 23.8 pounds, making it one of the lightest portable power stations with this capacity. And it measures almost 13 inches in length, around 9 inches in width, and nearly 10 inches in height. Another improvement this model has over its previous version is the use of lithium iron phosphate batteries, which make it more compact and significantly increase its lifespan. To put it into perspective, the previous model had a lifespan of around 500 cycles, while this one boasts an impressive lifespan of over 4,000 cycles. This means you could use it from 100% to 0% every single day for more than 10 years. And even after all those cycles, the battery will still retain about 70% of its original capacity. When it comes to capacity, it boasts 1070 watt hours and has a top running output of 1500 watts, which is enough to power almost all the equipment you have around the house. But don't just take my word for it. I'll be testing some of these later in the video to push the limits, and I'm sure you'll be impressed with the results. Moving on to the design, the front is where you will find almost all the key components. Right in the center, you have the power button. Just press it and the display screen lights up. This screen provides all the essential information about the power station status. It shows the remaining battery percentage, so you'll always know how much charge is left. On the left side of the screen, it displays the total input in watts, which tells you how much power is coming in. On the right side, you will see the output in watts, showing how much power is being used by your devices. And it also calculates how many hours of power you have left based on your current usage. At the very top of the screen, you'll notice icons for Wi-Fi and Bluetooth connectivity. This is because the power station can be managed through a dedicated app. I will show you exactly how to use the app later in the video. On the right side of the power station, there is a button to control the built-in light. It offers three modes. The first turns the light on, the second increases its brightness, and the third activates an SOS mode for emergencies. When it comes to output, this power station has two individual sections that need to be turned on separately but can be used at the same time. The first section is the DC output, which features one USB Type-A port with 18 watts for standard devices like smartphones or tablets, and two USB Type-C ports, one delivering 30 watts and the other 100 watts, making them ideal for charging larger devices like laptops. At the top of this section, there is also a 12-volt cigarette lighter port for powering devices like mini coolers, car vacuums, or other accessories with this type of connection. The other section is the AC output, which includes three standard outlet ports. These ports use pure sine wave technology, meaning the electricity they provide is stable and clean. The total power output of 1500 watts can be distributed across all three outlets or dedicated entirely to a single device, depending on your needs. On the right side, you will find the port for charging the power station using the provided wall outlet. Additionally, there are two separate ports for charging it with solar panels. What you need to know here is that these two ports share a total of 400 watts, so you can configure them in any way, as long as the total power doesn't exceed 400 watts. On the back of the power station, there's nothing of note, while the other side features ventilation to keep the unit cool. At the bottom, it includes rubber feet to ensure stability and prevent it from sliding. They also offers an app that you can install on both Android and iPhone, making it easy to manage the power station. You can connect directly via Bluetooth or link it to your Wi-Fi, giving you the ability to control it remotely from anywhere. Through the app, you can access the same features available on the power station itself, such as monitoring the current input and output. Additionally, the app offers some extra features such as viewing the internal temperature in Celsius. You can also customize the screen timeout settings, selecting between 2 minutes, 2 hours, or never turning off. The app allows you to activate an emergency charging mode that fully charges the power station in just 1 hour, though it is not recommended for regular use. Alternatively, you can enable a quiet charging mode which reduces noise while charging. Overall, the app covers all the basic features needed to manage the power station. Now, let's move on to the testing part. For this test, I'll be connecting regular devices you might use, starting with those that consume the least power and gradually moving to those that consume the most, to see if the power station can handle all of them. Additionally, we will test what happens if we overload it beyond the 1500 watts limit. So here I have this laptop, which is something I frequently need to recharge. I can either connect it to the direct current port or use the regular alternating current charger. However, one recommendation I give you is to charge devices like this through the DC port whenever possible. The reason for this is that the energy stored in the Jackery's battery is already in direct current. When you use the AC charger, the power is converted twice. First, from direct current to alternating current by the power station, and then back from alternating current to direct current by your laptop charger. This double conversion results in energy losses, typically around 10 to 20% depending on the device. While using the AC charger might be faster, the goal of a power station like this is to maximize efficiency and conserve as much energy as possible for longer use. Here is another great example. I have this air pump which I use to inflate my air mattresses. I can run it either through the car socket port or the AC outlet. When I use the DC car port, it draws about 63 watts, but when I use the AC outlet, it draws 68 watts. This is because the pump has a DC motor and the same double conversion happens. So moving on, here are some of the things I'll be charging. I have this lamp which I always bring when camping, along with the battery for my drone and my smartphone. All three devices connected at the same time are drawing 94 watts, and according to the power station, it could run like this for more than 11 hours. However, everything will probably be fully charged in just 1 hour. The next thing I will connect is a fan. This one, when set to the maximum level, only uses 45 watts and can run for up to 20 hours straight on the power station. I also have this turbo fan, which is much more powerful. When set to its maximum level, it draws 170 watts and can be used for about 6 hours straight. Moving on to more powerful appliances, I have this water heater. This is one of the devices that consumes the most power, so let's see if the power station can handle it. When I connected it, it started drawing over 1400 watts, which is close to the station's limit. I let it run for a few minutes until the water boiled, and by the time it finished, the battery had dropped to 90%, meaning it used 10% of the battery capacity. This demonstrates that the power station can handle it, but it's something to use sparingly if you want to conserve power. Another appliance I tested is a heater. I don't think this is something practical for regular use with the power station because it consumes energy very quickly. However, in an emergency, like if you're camping in a small space such as your car, it could provide some heat. So I connected it and set it to the maximum, where it drew around 1200 watts. When set to the minimum, it drew about 1000 watts and would last for approximately 1 hour at that setting. To push things to the next level, I tested an air fryer to see if the power station could handle that amount of power. I set it to run for 10 minutes at 400 degrees Fahrenheit, which is its maximum temperature. I started with the battery at 80%, and the air fryer was consuming around 1700 watts, which is more than the power station's limit. After about 1 minute, it shut off and displayed an F6 error on the screen, indicating that it was overloaded. Since it couldn't handle the load, I repeated the test. This time, I set it to 350 degrees Fahrenheit for 10 minutes, and started with the battery at 77%. although it was still consuming around 1700 watts. The Jackery managed to handle it. This is because of how air fryers work. They heat the resistance coil until it reaches the set temperature, but at a lower temperature, like 350 degrees Fahrenheit, it cycles on and off more frequently, which reduces the continuous load on the power station. By the end of the test, the battery dropped to 66%, meaning it used 11% of the total capacity. And lastly, this is something I can't go without, making coffee. If I can make coffee with this power station, I will be more than happy. So I set everything up, and it successfully brewed me a coffee while consuming 1400 watts. And the best part is that it only used 1% of the battery to make my coffee, meaning I'd still have plenty of opportunities for more cups throughout the day. This demonstrates how you can use this power station depending on your needs. Now, let's move on to how to recharge it. There are three main ways you can use to recharge the power station, which are using the provided power cord, using solar panels, and using your car. Let's start with the easiest option, charging it with the included power cord. When charging the power station with the power cord, there are three settings available. The first one is quiet mode. In this mode, it charges at about 260 watts, making it the slowest option. According to the app, it takes approximately 4 hours to fully charge. This mode is designed to keep the batteries cool, so the fans don't need to run at full capacity. Next is the emergency charging mode. This setting is for urgent situations when you need to charge the battery as quickly as possible. It can fully charge the battery in just 1 hour, but it's not recommended to use this mode regularly because it pushes the battery to its limits. When activated, it starts charging at 1500 watts, and as the battery fills, the power gradually decreases. And the third mode is the fast charging mode. I left this one for last because it's the one most people will use, as it's the most practical option. According to Jackery, this mode can fully charge your power station in 1.7 hours, which is approximately 1 hour and 42 minutes. To test how accurate that is, I connected the battery from zero and set a timer. It started pulling 1000 watts, but when it reached 45%, the charging rate dropped to 250 watts, which slowed the process. It stayed at that rate until it reached 70%, where it started charging again at 800 watts. I stopped the test at 2 hours and 17 minutes, which was significantly longer than Jackery's claim. I think the reason it took longer is because I had completely drained the battery beforehand using a heater, which caused the battery to overheat. I believe the slower charging was a safety mechanism to prevent further overheating. To verify this, I repeated the same test, but this time, after draining the battery to zero, I allowed it to cool down before starting. I plugged it in, and this time it charged significantly faster. When it was almost finished, the battery on my timer died, but I calculated the time from when I started until it finished, and it was exactly 1 hour and 40 minutes, just as they said. Another test I did was to measure how much energy it takes to charge. In the first test, it consumed a total of 1177 watt hours to charge completely, and in the second one, it took 1123 watt hours. The first test consumed more energy, which makes sense because it took longer to charge, and this extra energy could be due to the fans cooling the unit and other losses. If we take the second test, which was more accurate, and consider that the unit has a capacity of 1070 watt hours, with the energy used being 1123 watt hours, the energy efficiency of the charger is approximately 95.28%. This means that it is highly efficient compared to other models. The second method to charge the Jackery is by using solar panels. You can either get the Jackery on its own or the combo that includes a 200 watt solar panel, which is the version I have here. The 200 watts solar panel comes in a separate box, and inside you'll find the panel itself along with the cable that connects it to the Jackery. Additionally, it includes a USB-C port and a USB-A port, so you can charge smaller devices directly from the panel without needing the Jackery. The setup process is really simple. On one side of the panel, you'll connect the cable to its port, and the other end plugs into the Jackery. Make sure to use the DC8020 connector, as it's specifically designed for this connection. There's also an adapter included that might fit, but it's intended for other equipment and won't work with this power station. With the solar panel, I get around 160 watts, which is enough to charge the Jackery in about 6 hours. If you are wondering, you can also use off-brand solar panels. For example, here I have this Renegade 200 watts solar panel. The only thing you will need is an adapter to connect the solar panel to the DC 8020 input, which is what the Jackery uses. And since the Jackery has two different inputs, you can use both at the same time. When I connected both panels, I got just over 300 watts, which is enough to charge the battery in under 3 hours. Just keep in mind that this will depend entirely on how much sunlight you get. The last way to charge the battery is by using your car. Jackery doesn't include this cable in the box, but you can purchase it separately. This cable connects the car's socket port to the Jackery input. However, charging the battery through the car comes with some limitations. Car sockets typically have a 100 watts limit, which means it would take around 10 hours to charge the Jackery. This is not ideal, as it's not feasible to keep your car running that long. But there is another solution to resolve that problem. For this, you will need to get an alternator charger. There are a few options out there, but this is the one I found works best for my case. Essentially, what this charger does is use your car's alternator to charge the power station while you're driving. When the engine is running, the alternator produces electricity, and this charger takes that energy and transfers it to the power station. The connection is straightforward. Assuming this is your car's battery, you simply connect the cables that come with the kit. One end connects to your car's battery, and the other end goes directly to the e-taker. However, to connect the e-taker to the portable power station, you will need to get an additional cable separately, which is the XT60 to DC 8020 cable for the Jackery. And that's basically it. This alternator charger supports up to 500 watts from the alternator, but since the Jackery only accepts up to 400 watts of input, that's what we'll set it for. Another important thing to mention is that while your car is parked, you don't want to have this charger running, because instead of drawing power from the alternator, it would start draining power from your car's battery. To prevent this, the alternator charger comes with a mode that, when activated, ensures it only charges the power station when it detects that the car is moving. So, that's basically everything you should know about the Jackery Explorer 1000 V2. With its solid design, multiple charging options and efficient performance, it's a versatile power station that can handle most of your energy needs, whether you're at home, outdoors, or in an emergency. I've tested it with various devices and it performs well, though it's important to keep in mind its limitations, like the 1500 watt output. Overall, if you're looking for a reliable portable power station, the Jackery Explorer 1000 V2 is a great choice. Thanks so much for watching. I will leave the links to all the products I use in the description if you want to check them out. Don't forget to subscribe, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'd be happy to help.